We'll see whether or not this game on Sunday between the Eagles and Bears football has any type of interest attached to it at all. We'll see. Maybe you can get into a runoff between Hurts and Fields. Who knows? But this game should be interesting for Bears fans. Not because of Bears football. Not because all of a sudden Luke Getsy, the gutless one, put him up. I'm an offensive coordinator. I've got courage. 3rd and 10, halfback dive. Not because he's going to all of a sudden figure out how to actually be an effective offensive coordinator, play caller, or anything like that. No. Not because the Bears' defense is going to play well. You would assume that's not going to happen. But it's because, as a Bears fan, and for the Bears organization, you should be looking at the Philadelphia Eagles and saying, if things go well this offseason, in 2023, when you look in the mirror, that's the reflection that you want to see. The Eagles are that blueprint for the Bears right now. And you're going to say, well, that's kind of crazy, isn't it? The Eagles are 12-1. They're the top seed in the NFC. They've got the best record in the NFL. They've already clinched a playoff spot. The only reason they haven't clinched the NFC East yet is because the Cowboys only have 3 losses, and all of that's fine, but my thing is, the fuck are you talking about? With as much cap space as the Bears are going to have in the offseason, what you would assume is a pretty high premium draft pick that they're going to have in round 1. If you believe that Justin Fields is the guy that many of you believe him to be, then the expectations are the Super Bowl. Not to be a playoff contender. No, get out of that mediocrity, monsters of the midway mindset. The expectation is to be a Super Bowl contender. The expectation is that you want to be competing for and getting to the Super Bowl. The Eagles have positioned themselves to do that with their third-year quarterback, Jalen Hurts. So, if the Bears are doing this right, they should be looking at the Eagles and following that blueprint, following that pattern, that formula for success. You might not be able to perfectly mirror it, but you can glean some things from it. One, you've got a young, talented, dual-threat quarterback like Jalen Hurts, who's an MVP candidate this year. As through 13 games, over 3,800 yards of total offense, 32 combined touchdowns. When you think about throwing the ball, I think he got 22 passing touchdowns and 10 rushing touchdowns, something like that. Like, that's where it starts. Is Hurts' development in year 3 into being an MVP type of candidate. Then you've got a running back like Miles Sanders, who's very efficient as a runner, can hit some big plays, high yards per carry. He's already over 1,000 yards for a season and 11 rushing touchdowns. This team went out and said, hey, we need to help our young quarterback. We need another big weapon in the passing game. They go and trade a first-round pick to bring in A.J. Brown from the Tennessee Titans, and he's been worth it. He has over 1,000 yards receiving this year on 15-plus yards per catch and 10 touchdowns. You know, and you've got former high draft picks like Devontae Smith was a first-round pick in 2021. Dallas Goedert, second-round pick. Those are really nice complementary secondary options. They're having decent seasons as well. Defensively, this is a team that's invested a lot in free agency on the defensive side of the ball. And they're second in the league in yards allowed. They're 7th in points allowed, 1st in sacks and interceptions. So they're getting after the quarterback. They're forcing turnovers. And this, to me, is the formula that the Bears should be trying to mirror and follow. 10 of the 11 offensive starters for the Eagles were drafted. Now, granted, that goes over an extended period of time because you're going back to the days of Jason Kelce being drafted, Lane Johnson being drafted, what have you. However, the only offensive starter on their team that was not originally drafted by the team was the guy that they just gave up their first-round pick to bring in via trade, and that's A.J. Brown. And all of this being built around Jalen Hurts on a rookie-scale quarterback contract, which is even lower for him because it's a second-round pick contract. It allows you the flexibility to do those types of things. And look at where the Eagles are. So if you're the Bears fan, if you're the Bears organization, this should be showing you the blueprint for success. You might not be able to match it perfectly. But what do you see? The Eagles have a hellified good offensive line in front of Jalen Hurts. They've got a running back that can hurt you a couple different ways. And they've got weapons in the fucking passing game. It's not a difficult game. It really isn't. You find your young quarterback, and then you build around him. That's where it all starts. I'm just saying. Meanwhile, you look at the Bears and say, that's nice to think about the future, but right now, their present looks like dog shit. They're 3-10. At this point, you're looking for them to either hold on to a top 3 pick, or you're being psychotic because you just want to be stubborn as a fan. I can't never see my team lose. That's not being a real fan. No, that's you just choosing not to see the bigger picture. It's your business. That's your prerogative. But don't begrudge other fans for trying to sit there and say, hey, winning meaningless games in fucking December is more harmful for the organization in the long term. And let's be absolutely clear about this. It absolutely is. This is not up for debate or discussion. It absolutely fucking would be. The Bears winning 2 or 3 of their last 4 games to finish 5-12 or 6-11 is no type of moral victory. It's stupidity. Meanwhile, if you believe in Justin Fields, the Bears getting a top 3 pick, and let's say somehow you could con other teams in the NFL to thinking that Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, and Will Levis in some particular order are worth taking 1, 2, 3 in this draft. If you're in that top 3 and you don't have to take a quarterback, somebody's going to deal up for you, and you could get an organized changing type of trade, like the Philadelphia Eagles got. Positioned themselves well for years by being able to peel back like they did multiple times. Have to play the game right. Again, look at the Eagles as the formula to pattern to follow. Because as much as a lot of people have been excited, and I admit it's exciting at times to watch Justin Fields and what he does as a runner, he does his damage as a runner first and mostly. He has 905 rushing yards on the season, but the problem is we're sitting here, it's week 15 now, and he still hasn't eclipsed 2,000 yards passing. He's got 13 touchdown passes to 10 interceptions. Like, that shit's not good. I'm not blaming Justin Fields alone or exclusively. He's a part of the passing game, so he has been a part of the problem. He is far from the only or exclusive or the biggest problem, but he has contributed to it. That's why I'm not ready to break out the anointing oil and the christening crown for him and saying this is absolutely an elite quarterback waiting to happen. He needs a lot of work in the passing game, and more importantly, the supporting cast around him in the passing game needs a shit ton of help. That has to be the priority in the offseason, not the fucking defense. And you can clearly see with the Eagles the past couple of years, they prioritize getting help around Jalen Hurts. Whether they already had it there and they kept it, or they found ways to bring it in. That's what you got to do. And of course, as bad as they already are at the skill positions, they're even more depleted due to injuries. You're not going to have Darnell Mooney for this game. Not going to have Chase Claypool for this game. Don't have Khalil Herbert due to injury. Like, feels even more like Justin Fields has got to go out there and renegade it. And it's like, yeah, that's great and all, but that's not really helping his long-term development. It just doesn't. And it's not good for the offense either. You look at their season totals, they lead the league in rushing yards. And leave it to Bears football to do that. But what's even more Bears football is to be 32nd in the league in passing yards per game. Typical. And not surprisingly, they're barely in the top 20 in points scored. And that is even with an upturn in the number of points they scored in recent weeks because they just basically said, hey, Justin Fields, go run around like crazy. Because our passing game sucks and our offensive coordinator sucks. And he can't figure out how to do anything other than Bears football as a play caller. But you got that, and the defense stinks. The 30th in points allowed, 19th in yards allowed, get no pressure. They got 14 sacks on the season? That's about a sack a game. Butt naked last in the league, 27th against the run. Their defense stinks. And you would say, whoa, look at how much talent they've gotten rid of. You hired a defensive-minded head coach. The expectation should not be that your defense is 30th in the league of points allowed, because it's not like Robert Quinn and Roquan Smith were having much impact when they were here with this team in 2022 anyways. Let's be realistic about that. We should absolutely be questioning Alan Williams, the defensive coordinator, and Matt Eberflus, the head coach. Again, wouldn't be breaking out the anointing oils or the christening crown for this fucking coaching staff either. So, it could be an interesting matchup, exciting matchup between Jalen Hurts and Justin Fields, and let's hope it is, just for the sake of, like, being able to enjoy the viewing experience. But I'm really surprised the Eagles are only 9-point favorites here. And maybe there's a thought of this will be a bit of a letdown game, or that, Justin Fields' running ability gives the Bears a better chance to keep it close. It's a road game for the Eagles, but 9 points? They're 12-1, and they're going up against a 3-10 Bears team that's even more depleted in the receiving core. If this doesn't feel like a 31-13 or 31-17 game, I don't know what the fuck does. The Bears' defense stinks. Their passing game stinks. Their passing game that already stinks is even more hurt because of not having a Mooney, not having a Claypool. Give me a break. I'd be stunned if the Eagles didn't win this game by double digits. Am I rooting for it? No, at the end of the day, I just want to see Justin Fields escape this game unscathed. I would like to see him throw the ball a little more. And honestly, the best thing for this organization long term is that this team loses this game and the last 4 to close out the year. Yeah, it sucks to think about the team going 3-14, but in the long term, it's the best thing they could do. The worst thing they could do right now is win 2 or 3 goddamn meaningless games, as that accomplishes absolutely nothing.